The 2023-2024 Football League season has nearly finished and the bookmakers have got in their early 2024-2025 Sky Bet League One predictions. So today we're going to take a look at them. Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. As I say, today we are looking at the bookies' very early League One predictions. Take this video with a pinch of salt. We did do this exact same video for the Championship last week and it was really interesting looking at the bookies' predictions this early on before we even know which 24 teams are going to be in the division and what transfers are going to go through and what managerial changes there might be. But I thought it'd still be fun to look at nonetheless. Be sure to share your own thoughts down in the comments, especially if you support a team in League One. I've got to be honest, I think this is shaping up to be a very competitive League One next season. So get your thoughts down below. If you're feeling brave, get a prediction in. I know, like I say, it's just a bit of fun. Don't take this too serious because it is so early. If you like this video idea and want to support the channel, make sure to click the thumbs up button. We'll go for 799 likes on this video. It's free to do, so make sure to do that and make sure to subscribe. It's free to do, and with this close to 65,000 subscribers, your support would be massively appreciated. So like and subscribe and let's have a look at the bookies' predictions. So then, just like how we did it for the previous video, we're going to do it on a tier list here. Just remember, this isn't my predictions. Don't be too offended if you don't like where your team is placed to finish. This is the bookmakers' predictions and we're going to put them in order on this tier list with the bookmakers' predictions, and we'll talk about each team as we go through it. We've got the bottom three because, like I say, there's only 22 teams confirmed so far, so I'm just going to split it up a little bit randomly. The bottom three, the three teams above that, and then as we get higher you've got your top 6 and your top 12. Remember, of course, we are waiting to see what happens in the League 1 and 2 playoff finals. Good luck to Crewe, Crawley, Bolton and Oxford for those games. Starting down at the bottom then, and the bookmakers have Burton Albion as their last place team out of the 22 teams to be in League 1 next season. Maybe not coming as a massive surprise given how Burton ended the League One campaign last time round. Burton Albion were last in the form table over the last 10 games in League One, only picking up 7 points. It was a bit of a dysfunctional season. They got through 3 managers in that time, of course, and looking at how strong the teams are coming up from League 2, I think it's going to be very difficult for the teams that just survived last season to repeat the same trick this season, and the bookies have gone for Burton to go down. Share your thoughts if you're a Brewers fan. Joint with them down at the bottom, the bookmakers have also gone with Cambridge United. Pretty much similar odds to finish down at the bottom with Burton here. To be honest, for most of last season, I thought Cambridge United were pretty good. They did seem to end the season in quite poor form. They were losing and drawing quite a lot and ultimately slipped down a couple of places in the final few weeks. But they survived and they will be in League One again, which is testament to them when they were written off not to do very well last season. So they're going to have to prove people wrong again, including the bookmakers. Cambridge fans, share your thoughts. The final team down here in the bookmakers' bottom 3 or so far is Shrewsbury Town, who the bookies have just above Cambridge and Burton. Shrewsbury, a little bit like Cambridge last season, they weren't too bad, but they weren't exactly setting the world on fire, but they kept themselves away from danger and obviously survived in the end. But they were the lowest goal scorers in League One last season, with less than 1 goal per game, which is certainly something they'd need to address going into the new season because, as I say, I think it'll be even harder to stay up next time round. The bookies have got them down near the bottom. Moving on to the next couple teams just above these 3 in the bookmakers' predictions, we've got Northampton Town and Exeter City with similar odds here, and I'll talk about these two at the same time actually, because I did see Northampton play Exeter right towards the end of last season when they were both on the beach. They didn't have a lot to play for and Exeter City did win that game 2-1, funnily enough with 10 men actually. Both sides on the whole were pretty solid last year. Northampton finished 14th, Exeter City finished 13th. Exeter were the team to end in much better form with 6 wins in their last 10 games, which was a really strong finish. As I said, both Exeter and Northampton were solid last year and it's credit to them because they've come up from League 2 quite recently and consolidated in League 1. The bookmakers think there could be a little bit of a regression, but they have kind of got them to both just stay up again because they've got 3 teams below them, as you can see here, and I would imagine that the bookmakers are going to put Crewe or Crawley, the winners of the League 2 playoff final, in their bottom 4 to complete their predictions. But we'll come back and revisit this video when we know the full lineup for next season. Exeter and Northampton fans, do share your thoughts down below. Just above them we come on to Leyton Orient, who were really good last season actually, finished in 11th place. I must say I'm happy to see Leyton Orient back on their feet. They're a good club. Real shame to see them down in the National League a couple years ago, and they were really solid last season. It seems like under Richie Wellens, Leyton Orient are a club going in the right direction, so I think once again there's got to be optimism going into next season. The bookmakers have pushed them down the table a bit though, so Orient fans, share your thoughts. As we move towards mid-table, the next team the bookmakers have gone for is Bristol Rovers, who were always sort of there or thereabouts in the middle of the table. They finished in 15th place this season. With this prediction, the bookmakers have them about 16th place next season. Last season, on the whole, Bristol Rovers were quite a solid team, quite exciting to watch on a couple of occasions, just sort of lacked that consistency, and they actually ended the season in quite poor form with only 2 wins in their last 10 games, which did see them slump down the table a little bit. Rovers fans, are you feeling optimistic going into the next season? The bookmakers are predicting right now it'll be more of the same from you. Above Bristol Rovers, we've got our first newly promoted team, which is Mansfield Town, who came up in 3rd place last season. And I also agree with Mansfield being pretty solid next season. It wouldn't surprise me to see them in the top half, but I do think it's going to be very competitive. The thing with Mansfield is they've looked League One ready for a few seasons now. They've been knocking on the door, trying to get through League Two, and congratulations to them on getting in the top 3 last season when League Two was a really competitive division. It's got to be said, with Nigel Clough as well, Mansfield Town are in a very safe pair of hands. They've shown they can adapt to different games, they can play exciting football. I think Mansfield will do well, and I'm excited to see them next season. Just above Mansfield then, and we come on to Stevenage. This is a tricky one here, isn't it? Because obviously there was the change in management so late on last season. The first thing you've got to say is how good were Stevenage for a team that came up from League Two last year to do as well as they did. They looked like they might make the League One playoffs at large portions of last season, ultimately just falling at the final few hurdles, and they fell down to a 9th place finish, which is still incredible, which is actually where Sophie predicted them to finish at the start of the season. So fair play to her. Myself and Sophie have really enjoyed Stevenage's journey over the last couple of years, especially when we went to that Aston Villa Stevenage game. I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. Times have changed now, of course, though, with Steve Evans going to Rotherham, and we're going to come on to them in a bit. But for the final couple of games, they brought in Alex Ravel, who looks like he's going to be taking them on going into the next season. He picked up 4 points in the last couple of games, I believe. But before that, you know, they ended the season with 2 wins in the last 12. So it was that final run that cost them. But the bookmakers think they'll be strong again, and they put them in the middle. Stevenage fans, share your thoughts. Just above Stevenage then, and we come on to Wycombe Wanderers, who are always sort of there or thereabouts, mid-table, pushing for the playoffs. Last season, Wycombe Wanderers ended up in 10th place, and they were quite good towards the end of the season. They were actually 4th in the form table over the last 12 games. It seems as if they just timed their run towards the playoffs just a bit too late. But a solid club there with some very good players that I'm sure will be pushing again in the right direction next season. Okay then, next up, let's move into the top 12 with the bookmakers' predictions right now, and we've got Wigan Athletic. Now, it'll be interesting to see what business Wigan Athletic do in the summer. You've got to give them lots of credit for how they fought back from that points deduction last season. Of course, through the season, Wigan Athletic had 8 points deducted, and they went on to finish 12th, which is incredible. It's pretty much where the bookmakers are putting them again. But obviously, if you add those 8 points back, they would have been about 9th or 10th. So once again, real credit to Wigan Athletic for fighting back from adversity, really. A good club that needs stability to start pushing back in the right direction, and the bookies think it'd be another top half finish from Wigan Athletic. Just above Wigan then, as we start moving towards the top 10, we have got Stockport County, the second team that have been promoted to feature in the video so far. Stockport were fantastic last season, by the way. They absolutely tore League Two apart. There was a time where they did seem to wobble, and it looked like they might get caught by Wrexham or Mansfield or MK Dons or something. But no, they got back on track in the final few games, and of course they finished top of the league. And they are a club on the rise, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Stockport pushing towards the League One playoffs next season. I know lots of people are going to say that it's a big jump up to go from League Two to League One and expect to do well again, and there is an element of truth in that, but Stockport have been so good that I can see them climatising and definitely being at least top half, which is what the bookmakers have gone for. They're a successful club going in the right direction, and under Dave Challoner, can they do one better next season? We will see. Just above Stockport then, and we come on to Blackpool, who the bookies have got just outside the playoffs again. Once again, it'll be interesting to see what business they do through the summer. It's very early to judge right now. One thing you've got to say from last season, though, is they ended the season quite well, unfortunately just falling short of the playoffs, losing on the final day. But the main thing for me with Blackpool was looking at the disparity between how good they were at home and how they weren't as good away from home. They actually ended up being the 4th best home team last season, the 14th best away team. So you can see where there was a bit of a problem there for Blackpool last season. Need to improve on the road, but I do like them. Great club, fantastic fans. Can they get into the League One playoffs next season and maybe make a push for the Championship? Just above Blackpool then, and we come on to Lincoln City. Now Lincoln, you've got to say, how good were they last season? Really unfortunate not to make the playoffs. They ended the season in some sensational form, and it was on the final day that they just slipped out and they couldn't hold on to the playoff place. They were the best formed team in League One over the last 12 games, you know, even better than Portsmouth, Derby and Bolton, and they ended up having the 2nd best defensive record in League One as well, only conceding 40 goals, which is less than 1 goal a game, which is incredible. Credit to Lincoln. It's going to be very tricky to pick themselves up from just missing out on the playoffs this year, but I'm sure they'll be there or thereabouts next year. The bookmakers have them just outside the playoffs again. If you are an Imps fan, do be sure to share your thoughts down below. Just above Lincoln City, we have Charlton Athletic. The bookmakers reckon Charlton will be much higher up the table this time round. It was a 16th place finish last season. Quite a few changes through the season, of course, including in the managerial department, of course, where they brought in Nathan Jones, and they weren't bad. They just seem to draw a lot of games, which shows that they're obviously in the games, and it just takes a couple of tweaks to turn those draws into wins. Once again, if you're looking at the size of club, Charlton should be, for me, at least in the Championship, but it doesn't necessarily work that way. But what I will say, though, is with a manager like Nathan Jones, who's walked this walk before with Luton Town, they've got a very good chance of being higher next season and possibly breaking into that top 6. But once again, we will see what business they do. The final team then just missing out on the top 6 in the bookmakers' predictions are Reading, and this would be quite the improvement from Reading, who finished 17th place last season. Obviously you have to add the caveat that they had a points deduction, 6 points taken off. They would have been a couple places higher. I think they'd have actually been 15th. Once again, similar to Wigan, you want to see this club that's been in the Premier League quite recently really get back on their feet and push in the right direction towards a return to the Championship. Really interesting when you look at Reading's numbers for last season. Lots of goals going in both directions. They scored 68 goals, which is the most of any team that didn't make the top 6, but they conceded 70 goals, which is the most of any team that finished above the bottom 4. So really exciting, quite unpredictable, but they just need that consistency going into next season and that stability behind the scenes to get into the top 6. The bookmakers reckon they'll be close. So then we are now left with the bookmakers' top 6 predictions so far, and we've got Rotherham United in 6th place, who you've got to say have got to be there or thereabouts. They've had 3 promotions from this level in the last 6 years. I think it was 2018, 2020 and 2022 if I'm correct. Of course, they've spent 2 seasons in the Championship before coming back down to League One, but we know now that they've got Steve Evans, who did a fantastic job with Stevenage over the last couple of years, and of course going back to 2014 I believe it was Steve Evans that got Rotherham promoted at Wembley. So we will see if he can repeat the same trick. There's going to be a lot of changes in the summer, but I think right now you'd be daft not to put Rotherham in the top 6. Just above Rotherham United then, and sticking in Yorkshire, the bookmakers have gone for Barnsley to be in the playoffs again. Of course, we saw them just last week falling short against Bolton in the playoff semi-finals, and it seemed to be the ending of the season that undid Barnsley. For a large portion of this season, it looked like it was a mix-up between Portsmouth, Derby, Bolton and Barnsley were there or thereabouts in the automatic race, and then it was only 2 wins in the last 12 games. They of course lost the first playoff game against Bolton 3-1. But what I've got to say from the second leg is there's a lot of positives to take. Yes, it's unfortunate that they haven't made it to Wembley, but Sam Cosgrove's performance was unbelievable, with Devante Cole as well and lots of other good players. They've got lots of goals in that team, so yes, if they can keep some of those best players and make a couple of decent additions, Barnsley have got to be there or thereabouts next season, and that's what the bookmakers are going for. After Barnsley then we come on to the bookmakers top 4, and in 4th place at the moment the bookies have gone for Peterborough. Now I do wonder if this one will change through the summer, because right now there's lots of speculation about Peterborough United having a complete makeover in the summer. Of course we know Mason Clark is going to Coventry, Clark Harris going out the door as well. They've got plenty of good attacking players. I mean, they were the top scorers in League One last season. That's going to attract quite a lot of interest in this summer transfer window. I mean, once again, what you've got to say is Peterborough United are a very decent club that we all associate with pushing for promotion from League One when they're in this division. But if they do need a big rebuild over the summer, then that might set them back a bit and get them off to a slow start to the season. So right now, I'm not sure, but the bookmakers have put them in 4th place. Then we have the top 3, and the bookies are going for a massive jump here for Wrexham, who finished 2nd in League 2. They've currently got them to finish 3rd in League 1. Now, it's not unheard of to see a team come up from League 2 and get into the top 6, even the top 3 in League 1. It doesn't happen all too often, but it can happen every now and then. What you've got to say is Wrexham do have a good chance of being there or thereabouts. They're a club that have been massively backed by Ryan and Rob. They've got a very experienced manager with Phil Parkinson as well, so it's not like he's making it up as he's going along. He's managed at this level before, and they've got a lot of players that you would think can cut it already in this division, in the likes of Paul Mullin, Elliot Lee, and we'll see what additions they make to the team through the summer as well, because despite coming up from League 2, they are going to have good backing and look like a League 1 team already. I've got to be honest, I'm quite excited to see how Wrexham do in League 1, because yes, they have had backing. Some people are saying it's a fairy tale. Some people are saying, no, it's not. They've just had quite a bit of money. I know there's people that like Wrexham. I know there's some people that don't like Wrexham. What you've got to say, though, is whether you like them or not, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Wrexham, and there is some sort of expectation. Of course, in the National League, they were stuck there for a while. They did get the backing that got them promoted. I did think they'd get straight through League 2, because a lot of teams previously have managed the jump really well from the National League to League 2, and of course 4 teams get promoted. This is where things will definitely get harder. Only 3 teams go up, only 2 of them go up automatically, and there's very strong teams that come down from the Championship into League 1. So you do need to obviously play well, you do need good players and quite a bit of financial backing to get through this division. I don't know how I feel about Wrexham right now. The bookmakers are quite hot on them. I think I agree with that. They're going to be there or thereabouts. I don't see them going down. I don't think they're going to be in the bottom half. But I think expectations are going to vary. I think on the whole, most of us think they'll do well. It's just whether they'll be fighting to get into the playoffs or whether they'll be in the top 2. So who knows? Do share your thoughts on Wrexham, guys. The bookmakers have them currently 3rd, and their top 2 are Huddersfield Town and Birmingham City. We'll start with Huddersfield, who've of course just come down from the Championship. Recently, of course, we've seen the manager for Huddersfield, Brighton Writer, leaving the club. What it does mean is right now there's that bit of uncertainty, but they're a big club for this level. Of course, they were in the Premier League not too long ago, so I think there will be expectation for them to come back up, just like with Birmingham City. But it is a very difficult league. You're going to have to climatise quite quickly. You're going to be a bit of a cup final for some of the teams down at the bottom. So yeah, it can be unforgiving. Of course, it's not as difficult as the Championship, but we will see. It's about how you climatise. Of course, you must say, in the previous season in League One, we've seen the teams that came down, Blackpool, Wigan and Reading, none of them finished in the top 6. Now, I know there was some financial problems at some of those clubs, but goes to show, of course, it is a very difficult division. Huddersfield fans, do share your thoughts. The bookmakers currently have you 2nd, and that means that the bookmakers have Birmingham City as their favourites to win League One. And right now, I probably would agree with the bookmakers, but it's so difficult. I mean, things can flip so easily. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rotherham or Huddersfield or Barnsley or anyone wins the league. It's a very, very open division, but it's got to be said, Birmingham City should do well in this division. Right now, it's very difficult to make a very early observation, of course, because what's going to happen to Birmingham through the summer? What's the latest on Tony Mowbray? What players are they going to have? Birmingham, as a club, though, if they get the right backing, which it looks like they probably will, should do well. But as we said, this division is very, very unforgiving, and it's very unfamiliar territory for Birmingham City, it's got to be said. They've not been down in the 3rd division for a long time, and even the Birmingham fans must admit, in the last 10 years in the Championship, there's not been many great seasons. They've been in the bottom half of the table for quite a lot of those seasons. So the Birmingham fans and the Birmingham players that have been there for quite a while now are quite used to losing quite often. It's going to be very different to have that winning feeling more regularly, which obviously is something to look forward to if Birmingham get things right. And one thing I will say as well is, if Birmingham can make a quick return to the Championship, I think in the long run, the relegation might benefit them. Right now, it's very difficult to see that because they are in League One. But if they can come straight back up to the Championship as a strong unit, who knows, they might be able to carry that momentum and positivity and be a strong team in the Championship when they return. Share your thoughts though if you are a Blues fan, because the bookmakers have you top of the list. So then guys, that wraps up today's video. As I say, it's just a very early look at the bookmakers 2024-2025 League One predictions. Like I say, if you're feeling brave, share your predictions down below, but I can understand why some of you might think it's just a bit too early to do so. If you've enjoyed the video though, do make sure to drop a like. We're going for 799 and it's free to do. It's also free to hit the subscribe button, and we've got loads of content coming. If you want to see more League One coverage, let us know down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, peace out.